The Revolve command is a really fun command here for our 3D commands in AutoCAD, where you can take a fairly simple shape and actually create a fairly complex shape out of it. So I'm going to start with very simple shapes here. I have a 2D rectangle sketch, and as I move my mouse over it, you can see that these are made out of polylines. So when you revolve a shape, you have to be careful that your drawing is made out of polylines and not individual lines. Otherwise, it won't work the way you want it to, and you won't be able to further modify it. So with my rectangle that I have drawn here, I'm going to go ahead and find my revolve command. It's located in my modeling toolbar. It's the one that kind of looks like a stretched out little rectangle that's been dragged left to right. It has a little arrow showing it spinning above. And again, just like all of the commands, if you hover your mouse over top of it, AutoCAD will give you a little pop-up of what it does. So select your revolve command. On your mouse it'll say select objects to revolve. So I'm going to select this first rectangle. I'm just going to revolve the one shape for right now, so I'm going to go ahead and hit enter, showing that I've selected everything that I want. And now we need to specify an axis start point. So you need to actually specify the axis that you want this shape to be revolved around. And this can really define what your feature is going to look like afterwards. So I'm going to select this bottom line of my rectangle here. So I'm going to left click on the bottom left corner, and I'm going to click on the bottom right corner. So I've specified my axes, and now as my rectangle spins around, if I move this, you can see that we are now revolving around that axis. So it's taking that rectangle, if I can bring it back, something like that. So it's taking that simple rectangle we started with, and the more degrees it spins around in a circle, the more of a full cylinder you're going to get. So you never have to revolve a full circle. There are 360 degrees in a full circle. You never have to go the full 360. You can make this a small piece of pie. You could make it half of a pie by typing in 180, or 3/4 of a pie by typing in 270. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start by doing the full circle. So I'm going to type in 360 and hit enter. And once you've done that, because I started with a polyline shape, this is now a solid. If I hover my mouse over top of this, you can see that it pops up saying it's a 3D solid. So let's do that again here. I'm going to revolve this second rectangle now. So again, selecting my revolve command, grabbing that polyline shape, hitting enter. My axes, I'm going to pick the same axes. And this time I'm just going to type in 270 degrees. So I'm going to go 3/4 of the way around the circle and hit enter. And you can see the difference between the two now. So this one revolved 360 degrees. We have a full cylinder. And this one revolved 270 degrees, and we have 3/4 of a cylinder there. So now let's move on and do something a little bit different. With this third shape here, we can see that we have a circle with a line below it. So what I've done here is I've drawn the geometry that I want to revolve, which is the circle, and I've actually created myself an axis down here with this line. So I'm not actually going to be revolving this line. I'm just going to use it as the axis. So you can go ahead and select revolve again from your modeling toolbar, or you can just type in revolve and it will open up that command. So I'm going to type in revolve and hit enter. Select the objects I want to revolve. So I just want to revolve this circle, so I'm selecting the circle, hitting enter, and then specifying my axes. Your axes does not have to be on your shape. So the first two rectangles, we chose an axis that was actually on the rectangle itself. This time we're going to choose an axis that's away from the shape. And you can see what happens when you do that. You actually get a gap in the middle there, so this is looking like a donut here. If you leave a space between the shape itself, so that circle, I left a space between the circle and this line. So I'm going to type in 360 degrees to get the full donut shape here. So that's how you can use the revolve command. Now these were using three very simple shapes, 2 rectangles and a circle. You can actually use the revolve command on a much more complex shape as well. So if I use my polyline right now and I just draw myself a polyline, and I'm just going to draw a really sort of funky shape here. Okay, so there's my super funky shape. No dimensions on here, but we can revolve this. This is a polyline because I used my polyline command to draw it. So I'm going to select my Revolve command, select my shape, hit enter, and if I pick this center line as my axes and type in 360, you can see that we can get some really crazy shapes using this. So the Revolve command is a really cool 3D command here in AutoCAD where you can take fairly simple or complex shapes and create 3D solids out of them that you could later use your modify commands on to make even more complex shapes by unioning them together, subtracting them, and so on.